Another monster first round for the SEC, and we'll catch up with Florida D lineman Cam Jackson as he gushes over DJ Lagway. Locked On SEC starts right now.
You are Locked On SEC, your daily podcast on the Southeastern Conference. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And what's up, everybody? Welcome into Locked On SEC. It's great to have you guys along. I'm Chris Gordy. Thanks for making Locked On SEC your first listen every day. Shout out to Everydayers. We're free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, covering your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can get $250 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. That's at FanDuel.com. All right, let's jump into it as the SEC making a little bit of history again last night. We're used to this by now in the NFL draft. The SEC tied the all-time record for most first-round selections in the NFL draft with 15. The previous record, well, it was the SEC in 2020. So pretty cool stuff there. If you combine the SEC and the Big Ten, they together combined for 26 of the 31 first-round picks in the NFL draft. That's over 81%. The SEC, like we said, ties their old 2020 record with 15, the Big Ten with 11. As some people tweeted out, they said, this is, if there was any doubt that there's a power two in college football, I mean, come on. It's the best talent is coming out of the SEC first, and then followed by the Big Ten, and then there's everybody else. But as this thing played out, look, this is how it went down. We had Will Campbell from LSU went with the fourth overall pick. Armand Membu from Mizzou went with the seventh pick. Kelvin Banks from Texas went with the ninth pick. Then we got into the teens. Michael Williams from Georgia. Tyler Booker from Alabama to the Cowboys. Jalen Walker went to from the Georgia Bulldogs to the Atlanta Falcons. Jalen Walker, hearing his name called. Walker's the first Georgia player to ever be drafted in the first or second round by the Falcons since 1966. Pretty cool stuff there. With Tyler Booker going to the first round, Alabama, they own the record for the longest streak of first-round picks in the draft. It did not take long for that streak to be extended on Thursday. Tyler Booker, the first Alabama player to hear his name called, that went 12th overall. They get 17 years in a row that Alabama has had a first-round draft pick. Their streak of 17 years is the longest active streak and the longest streak in the NFL draft history. Alabama's streak began in 2009, the year that previous record holder Miami had their streak snapped at 14 straight years. That streak, just a reminder of Nick Saban's dominance at Alabama. 2009 was 2 years into Saban's tenure and 17 straight years. Pretty incredible stuff. Then we got down to pick 16. There was a string of SEC guys, 15, 16, 17. So Jalen Walker went 15. Walter Nolan from Ole Miss went 16 to the Cardinals. Shamar Stewart went 17 out of A&M to the Bengals. Then into the 20s, we had Jahdae Barron, one of the best corners in the country out of Texas, to the Denver Broncos. Matthew Golden, stud Texas wide receiver, went to the Green Bay Packers, and that's where the draft was, so he got a lot of attention. One of the surprises of the night, how about the New York Giants trading back into the first round and pick 25 to take Ole Miss quarterback Jackson Dart. Pretty crazy there. And then how about James Pierce? Remember we talked about James Pierce a year ago. The draft projections were, he's going to be the number one overall pick. And then he kind of fell off draft boards throughout this process. Not off draft boards, but not many people were expecting him to be a first round pick. He sneaks into the first round. The Falcons trade up to pick 26 to get Tennessee edge James Pierce. So how about the Atlanta Falcons going Jalen Walker from Georgia and James Pierce from Tennessee? Two stud, sack artists that are going to get after it. Pretty good pickups there. The Baltimore Ravens at 27 took Georgia safety Malachi Starks. And then in the last couple picks, Maxwell Hairston from Kentucky goes with the 30th pick to the Buffalo Bills. And Jihad Campbell, the Alabama linebacker, was waiting a while to hear his name, but he hears it called 31 overall to the world champion Philadelphia Eagles. So there you have it. Those are the names that went in the draft, but always cool to see the former SEC guys go high and go in the first round. And, the SEC setting another record. A lot of Texas guys. little surprised by that, right? To see Texas. Remember the whole thing under Tom Herman was that, it was like, oh, they haven't had the first round O lineman or D lineman or whatever and drafted in forever. And so, Sark's got them back. So one other note, I saw LSU with Will Campbell going 4th overall. They have produced a top 5 pick in 6 of the past 7 NFL drafts. And I saw the names: Devin White, Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, Derek Stingley, Jaden Daniels, and now Will Campbell. That's a pretty, is there a bust in that group? Devin White still had some great years, won a Super Bowl there in Tampa, but Burrow, Chase, Stingley, Jaden Daniels, pretty strong. So now we ask, who did not go in the first round? Well, of SEC guys that were expected to go, how about South Carolina safety Nick Emenwari? That was a little bit of a surprise. Ole Miss DB Trey Amos was getting a lot of first-round talking up. Mizzou wide receiver Luther Burden, again, another guy a year ago. If you'd asked me, I would have said Luther Burden is a lock to be a top 10 pick in the 2025 draft. And then for some reason down the stretch of this season and then into the offseason, Luther Burden just kind of fell. So I expect him to go early in the second round Friday evening. The other big one was Shedeur Sanders from Colorado. That one was just kind of the big one that, we heard reports he was falling down people's boards and stuff, but just kind of shocking there. So who are some other best players available out of the SEC? Well, you expect, and a lot of these guys I think are going to go in the second round on Friday evening, second or even early third. But LSU tight end Mason Taylor, I think will go. We'll see A&M defensive tackle Shamar Turner, Ole Miss wide receiver Trey Harris should go, and then Quinshon Judkins, he's Ohio State running back, but former Ole Miss running back. Expect he'll go in the second round, and then a couple of other guys: Nick Scorton from A&M, Landon Jackson, the edge rusher from Arkansas, and then Alfred Collins, the big D lineman from Texas. So potentially another Texas guy to go. But yeah, when we look back at the first round of the NFL draft again, 20 or 15 SEC guys go. And of the big surprises, not shocked that Will Campbell, Armand Membu, and Kelvin Banks, all 3 offensive tackles go in the top 9 from the SEC. But, Jackson Dart, the future face of the New York Giants, right? Eli Manning winning those Super Bowls there. And now Jackson Dart could be the face of the New York Giants in the future. Just going to be interesting to watch that one. And then the Falcons getting the Georgia Tennessee Sackers. That will be fun to watch too. So that was what happened in the first round of the NFL draft of the 2025 NFL draft on Thursday night. And we'll certainly watch. I'm a big draft Nick, so I'll be watching all weekend to see how many more SEC guys go and see if they could set the record for most total in the NFL draft, which they did a couple years ago. All right, thank you guys for making Locked On SEC your first listen every day. Coming up next, we had a chance to catch up with Florida D lineman Cam Jackson as he hopes to hear his name called in this NFL draft. So we'll sit down with Cam Jackson, talk a number of things with him, with the all the great D linemen he got to play with there on the line at Florida. And he gushes a little bit on DJ Lagway and what the future is with him at quarterback for the Florida Gators. So we'll touch on that coming up here in just a second. But first, I want to remind you guys, if you did not know, your Fire TV is also an Xbox. You can turn any TV into your gaming and entertainment hub with Fire TV Stick 4K devices. No console is required. You just grab your paired controller, subscribe, or sign into Xbox Game Pass Ultimate with EA Plus included, and you're ready to play. You dive into hundreds of premium titles from EA Sports College Football 25 to Call of Duty's Black Ops 6 as easily as you stream your favorite shows. It's gaming made simple, and it's all on your Fire TV. They've got the latest technology for elevated playing. They've got endless entertainment with 4K streaming. You can watch more than 1.5 million movies and TV episodes from your favorite subscribed services like Netflix, Prime Video, Disney Plus, Max, and more. And you can play high-quality Xbox games at a fraction of the cost of a console. Fire TV Stick 4K device is more affordable and easier to travel with, allowing you to take your or your kids' games wherever you need to plug in. Very cool stuff. Head to Amazon.com/Fire TV Locked On to get started. Xbox Game Pass Ultimate subscription and compatible controller required. Available on select devices, including Fire TV Stick 4K, Fire TV Stick 4K Max, and Fire TV Cube. That's Amazon.com/Fire TV Locked On. Check them out today. We're along here on Locked On SEC, and this time of year is always a lot of fun. We get to talk with guys who played in the SEC, guys who are getting ready to take their talents to the next level, and a guy who was hoping to hear his name called sooner rather than later is Cam Jackson from the Florida Gators, who is heading into this NFL draft. Cam, thanks for the time, man. Thanks so much for joining us.
Yes, sir. Appreciate you for having me.
Talk to me a little bit about what this process has been like. I know you had the Senior Bowl this offseason, and what was that like, getting down in Mobile and trying to showcase your talent and show teams what you can do?
I say it was fun, getting down there and competing with guys like Walter Nolan, TJ Sanders, Jordan Birch, and my former teammate Princely Uman Mielen. So just being able to go out there, have fun with them guys, and playing with them again, and just going to go compete.
Yeah, it's crazy when you talk about how much talent you guys had on that Florida team this year, and it's so much talent going off to the NFL. When you look back on when you were at Memphis and you decided you were going to leave, what made Florida the school that was the right pick for you? Because Billy Napier, I know, he had come from Louisiana, he had gotten to Florida, and there was a lot of excitement about his arrival. But what made you choose Florida at the time?
I say just the tradition, and like you said, Coach Napier, he was at ULL, so he had been knowing me since like my sophomore year, and just the tradition and the team that he was building. And I feel like with me and Caleb, we came and built something special on the D-line the past 2 years. So just coming in and wanted to change that organization around, and I feel like that's what we did the last 2 years.
It was a little flux there too, because obviously Coach Austin Armstrong was there, and he was running the defense. And then last year, Coach Ron Roberts came in to kind of help bring, what he had over at Auburn and bring some new pieces and all that. What was that like, having Coach Armstrong, but then Coach Roberts kind of coming in and adding some extra stuff?
I say it was good to have Coach Armstrong my 2023 season, because he was sending the blitz at people, so like we was getting after people. And when Coach Roberts came this past season, I feel like they let me go more this season instead of just mirroring a center or the tackle or the guard. Like they just let me get off and let me loose this season. And like I said, once they did that, I feel like me, Caleb, Tyreek Sapp, and the other guys, they followed behind us, and we turned. As you can see, when we played Tennessee, the defense changed around a whole lot.
It's interesting too. Your D-line coach, Gerald Chapman, he was a guy that people were after this offseason. I know LSU had kind of talked to him, and Florida did what they needed to do to keep him there. But that's got to be a guy that I think was vital to your development there, right?
Yes, sir.
Talk a little bit about Coach Chapman, what he brought to the table.
He brought energy for sure. Like, Coach Chapman, I'm pretty sure a lot of people seen him on Twitter when we was in fall camp. He was just hyped out there. And just, he held us to that standard. And I feel like with him, coming in and holding us to that standard, we played better. And like I said, the D-line showed up a whole lot this season. Mm-hmm. I think when we played LSU, I think we sacked Nussmeier 7 times this past season. So, and then just, like I said, just being able to stop the run. One too many teams just able to run the ball on us this past season.
That, obviously the season, you guys come out of the gates and it was a rough start. And then when the loss to Texas, you're 4-5, and it's starting to feel like, oh man, this thing could go sideways. But that's when things turned around. You mentioned that it was that LSU game win. Then the Ole Miss win, then the Florida State win, then they go and win the bowl game. I mean, to finish on a 4-game win streak was huge, I think, for the program, because 4-5 to finish 8-5 is I mean, it just gives so much positivity and excitement heading into this next season. But talk about that moment. Did it feel like that was the turning point in the season for you guys when you beat LSU?
Yeah, I say that. When we beat LSU, I knew, I feel like, the team knew then and there, we could compete with anybody. Really, when we played Georgia and we went out there and competed with them after DJ got hurt and he went down, and Aiden had to step in for us, and just with him stepping in and having that type of confidence and doing what he did, I feel like once we went out there and competed with them, I felt like we could compete with anybody. And like you said, the LSU game, that was really the turnaround point. And I knew then, like I just knew then, I was like, yeah, like we finna go out here and do some dominance to some people.
Well, not only that, I mean, all the conversation at the time was about Ole Miss and they're going to the playoff and all this, and you guys literally take them out of the playoff picture by beating them. I mean, that and there was one where the defense kept making stops, and it just felt like you guys really hit your stride defensively on the backstretch of the season, right?
Yes, sir.
What was it? I mean, was it just everybody getting more comfortable in the system? Why were y'all achieving peaking at the right time at the end of the year?
I say everybody was on the same page with each other, and I feel like the beginning of the season everybody wasn't on that same page. And I say, people hate to lose, but I feel like the Miami game was a wake up call for us. And when we went on the bye week before we played Tennessee, we was out there we was really real competitive at practice. So like defense trying to beat the offense trying to beat the defense. And went out there, played Tennessee, and when Graham went down, DJ had to step in, and when he stepped in, he stepped in and played a big role for us on the offensive side on the ball. And not only him, but Montrell, Badger, Chim, all them guys, they played a big role on the offensive side of the ball. And we just fed off their energy that Tennessee game, and I feel like they did the same with us.
DJ, it's so fascinating. I mean, a highly touted recruit, and everybody was excited to see what he would do. But you had Graham Mertz in there, who's a veteran QB who had been at Wisconsin, and he was expected to take the reins. But when the injury happens and eventually DJ gets in there, man, you could just see the talent. I mean, the 5-star talent, it lives up to the hype. But man, it's exciting to see because it looks like he's just scratching the surface on what he could be. What is Florida going to be this year with DJ taking that next? It feels like we're all ready to see a show with DJ Lagway as he continues to grow and mature, right?
I feel like, if you ask me, I feel like Florida's going to the playoff. They going to compete for a national title this year. Like you said, I'm ready to see him for a full season. I mean, people seen him when he came in versus Tennessee and what he can do. Me personally, I feel like DJ is the best quarterback in college football, and that's just, that's me. And I feel like other people feel like that, but I feel like DJ is gonna take Florida a long way. I feel like the defense is going, they're gonna step up and do their part. Tyreek Sapp, Caleb, all them guys. I feel like they're gonna step up and do what they got to do. But I think DJ he gonna surprise a lot of people this year.
So take me back. You come over from Memphis, and you're a big guy, 300 plus pounds. But even you had to be taken aback when you see big Desmond Watson in there. Yeah. He's 400 plus. I mean, that's he makes you look small standing next to that guy, right? What was it like getting to meet him and getting to play with him?
So Dez, a lot of people don't know Dez was my roommate in 2023.
Okay.
So that's my guy there. Dez, he the type of guy like you got to get to know him. And
was he stealing your snacks? And I mean, you have to kind of separate it?
No, Dez, he the type of guy, like, once you get to know him, he like to play a lot. So, but nah, Dez real cool. That's my guy for sure.
I just meant y'all are two big guys. I'm sure it's like y'all put down some meals now, right?
Yeah.
No, it's just so funny, and for him to be as big as he is, as athletic as he is, I mean, to see a guy get off his burst and all that, I mean, it was phenomenal. That's what I think everybody drew to what he could do. But man, just all you guys on that D line seem to get better and better. And obviously, you mentioned Imani Ellen and how good he got, but I think that to me is what stands out when I watch Florida these last couple of years, is just how much better you guys got on line. What about Jack Pyburn? He's going over to LSU now. What do you think he's going to do over there?
I feel like Jack gonna go over there and do because he helped us out a lot last year too. I know how Jack is once he get on the field. He like a maniac out there. So I feel like Jack gonna go over there and he gonna have a breakout season this season. And I'm ready to, I'm gonna be watching him, tuned in with him, just keeping up with him. But I feel like Jack gonna go over there and have a real breakout season for LSU this year.
But on the Florida side, you got a couple guys coming back. Those Sapp's coming back,
yeah,
right?
Sap.
I mean, there's a couple guys that that room's not empty now. Yeah, you guys are leaving, but they're still pretty loaded over there, right?
Yeah, they are.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun to see what Florida does this coming year. You mentioned playing Miami. You played Cam Ward week 1. He's expected to go number 1 in this draft. Is that crazy? Did you know when you were playing Miami like that this could be the number 1 pick in the draft?
Yeah, I kind of did. Just Cam, he's a good player, real competitive player. He's a guy who, when we was out there, we had a few words with each other. But I enjoyed playing against Cam. Ready to see him get drafted tomorrow night, and ready to see whatever team he go to. I hope he can go out there and help a team win, which I feel like that's what he gonna do. But it was exciting getting to play against Cam.
What was the intel for you when you were at the Senior Bowl and you start talking to some of these teams and start finding, the reality starts to set in? I'm going to the next level. What was some of the things they said you that they liked about you, and what are some things you maybe needed to work on in your training and everything to get ready for that next level?
I say some things I needed to work on was probably just reacting to run, pass, transition, but the things they like, just me being dominant, how I run to the ball, and me just being aggressive. So, which that's not gonna never change. So,
can't coach effort. That's just, this is what it is, right?
Yeah.
What was that? When they're measuring you and all this stuff, it's almost like you feel like a piece of meat at a certain point, right? Because they're just running you through the ringer. And then the medicals, all my buddies have been through it. They're like, God, they check everything on your body, right? To make sure everything's good.
They do at the combine.
It's a process. What's the plan for draft night? How are you spending it?
I'm gonna celebrate with my
draft
family.
Weekend now. It's several days. So.
Yeah. So I'm gonna be with my family. We're going to be at my uncle's house. So, like I said, just getting ready to wait for my phone to get called, and then gonna go from there.
It's an exciting time, man, and we couldn't be more excited for you. It's always fun to watch these guys. We're at SEC Media Days every year. I go to the Manning Passing Academy. It's so fun to see all these guys from, coming out of high school. You're highly touted. You go to college. You put in all the grind, all the sweat and tears, and this is the payoff. This is what it all pays up for. So really appreciate you taking some time, Cam, and best of luck, all right?
Yes, I appreciate you.
All right, we'll have more on the show coming up right after this.
Hey guys, the NBA playoffs are almost here, and FanDuel has given new customers an incredible way to get in on the action right now. When you join FanDuel and place your first $5 bet, you're going to get $250 in bonus bets if your bet wins. You're going to love how FanDuel makes betting so easy, whether you're picking your favorite team or diving into player props, from three-pointers to steals to assists. FanDuel has so many ways for you to bet on your favorite player and player props. Plus, after the game tips off, you can even combine live prop bets into a same-game parlay for a chance to win big. And we've been telling you, they got some early prop bets for the college football world. Some early week one matchup lines already available as well. I got tons of great content up there at FanDuel.com. Don't miss out. Head to FanDuel.com today. Claim your $250 in bonus bets today. Again, that's when you join FanDuel. Place your first $5 bet. You'll get $250 in bonus bets if your bet wins. That is at FanDuel.com to get started today. All right, run along here. Thanks to Cam Jackson. Before we call it a show and head off into the weekend, we do have some transfer portal news and nuggets that we will dive into. So let's, without further ado, dive into those. And first up, we stop off over at Ole Miss, as quarterback Pierce Clarkson has decided to play elsewhere after a brief time with Ole Miss. Multiple outlets reporting the Louisville transfer quarterback has decided to re-enter the portal. He got to Ole Miss in January, took part in their spring practice, but looks like he will not be part of the Rebels 2025 season at Louisville. He saw limited playing time there, made just 2 appearances in 2024. So we'll see where he ends up. Meanwhile, over at Oklahoma, Cole Gonzalez has reportedly changed his mind about playing for Oklahoma this year. He's a quarterback that will go back into the transfer portal. Brief stop at OU. He is the son of Florida wide receivers coach Billy Gonzalez. Played for Trinity Catholic High School in Ocala, Florida, about 40 miles south of the Florida campus in Gainesville. Spent 3 seasons at FCS Western Carolina. So we'll see where he ends up. Speaking of Florida, DeAndre Robinson, a freshman contributor for Florida last year, defensive lineman. He will look to continue his career elsewhere. It's not the first time he's joined teams or changed teams, rather. Initially signed to play for Texas, and then when the Longhorns lost D-line coach Bo Davis to LSU, he asked for his release and signed with Florida in January of last year. 6'3", 300 pounds on Florida's spring roster. So we will see where DeAndre Robinson winds up. Over at Tennessee, safety Jacoby Thomas is entering the portal. Now, ESPN's Pete Thamel calling it a little bit of surprise. Thomas spent one season with the Vols after starting his career at Middle Tennessee State. He will look to play his final season of college eligibility elsewhere. Surprising move because Thomas, by many, was projected as a starting safety for Tennessee this spring. So, Jacoby Thomas on the move from Tennessee. Over at Arkansas, they added to their roster a young quarterback after losing Madden Iamaleava to the portal, their freshman signee going to UCLA to go follow his brother. Razorbacks expected to sign former Florida State quarterback Trevor Jackson out of the portal. He was a four-star prospect in the class of 2024, spent one season in Tallahassee, and fills that void of Madden Iamaleava. So he will provide some depth behind Talon Green. Arkansas's two other scholarship quarterbacks, KJ Jackson and true freshman Grayson Wilson. So welcome to Fayetteville, Trevor Jackson. Over at Auburn, Tigers transfer portal has been big in bringing in some more talent, and this week they added Tulane transfer corner Rayshawn Pleasant. Pleasant is a talented cornerback, 35 tackles and an interception last season for Tulane, also a kick returner. Last season he was named an All-American, took back 13 kicks for 449 yards and 2 touchdowns. So Auburn looking for any kind of point-scoring help they can get, and Rayshawn Pleasant going to help out in that return game and as a defensive back. Over at Alabama, they are getting the business of adding some tight ends. Crimson Tide are having a very interesting quarterback battle on their hands with Austin Mack, Ty Simpson, and Keelan Russell. But on Wednesday, they added a tight end from West Virginia, Jack San Marco, transferring to Alabama. And so we'll see what he does. And then yesterday, we found out that Troy transfer tight end Brody Dalton announced he is headed to the Crimson Tide. So West Virginia tight end Jack San Marco and Troy tight end Brody Dalton heading to Alabama to help out in their tight end room. So see what they contribute next year. Blocking tight ends, receiving tight ends, whatever. We will find out once they get on campus. And then one more note, over at Kentucky, a report came out last night that under a proposal, the Kentucky Athletic Department, quote, would be shifted to a limited liability or holding company being created called Champions Blue LLC. Ross Dellinger reporting, as college sports moves into the revenue sharing era, this may be a trend for more financial flexibility. So I don't know. This thing gets above my head when you start talking about, you could take private equity, private investments, and that sort of stuff. And it kind of helps for, I guess, tax purposes and stuff. If you make yourself an LLC, I don't know. It's just the first domino to fall, though, it sounds like, of maybe some other schools thinking of going this route with, of course, all the, all the stuff that's going to happen with hopefully this House versus NCAA settlement and revenue sharing getting passed. So just passing that along. All right. Thank you guys for making Locked On SEC your first listen every day. Hey, for your second listen, you could check out the Portal Show. Brian Smith has the latest rumors, portal entries, and signings. Be the most informed fan on the rapid changes to the college football landscape. Find the Portal on YouTube or wherever you listen to your podcast. I'm Chris Gordy. You guys have a great weekend. We'll be back on Monday talking all things SEC. We'll recap the SEC players in the draft. Hopefully they make history. We'll talk to you guys then.